The biggest shift in Facebook the last few years is it optimizes for you. So if you pass back the signal of who is a good lead, you don't even actually need to do any targeting at all, any geo-targeting at all, if you have enough volume for the system to know. And I think that might be a smarter, longer term answer than trying to figure out positive, negative targeting like we're trying to do here.
Hey, Dennis, nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet.
Zane said that you guys kind of had a history. Do you want to tell me like a little bit about what you do?
What do you know about me?
He just said that you've been in kind of like the marketing industry for a while and did some coaching, something like that. So,
well, I've been in the space for a while. I've spent $1 billion on Facebook ads, and
nice.
We help a lot of agencies. Marco is a good friend of mine. I'm here to obviously help out. I promote him.
Awesome.
And I helped him through that whole service legend thing, as you may remember, or if you were a part of that before.
I've heard a little bit about it, but I don't know any of the details. I just know there is drama.
Well, thankfully, everything got resolved the right way. And there's a lot of agencies that just can't. It's not like they're bad people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Marco or Ryan or any of these people that are bad people, but you get a lot of things that fall through the cracks because operationally, there's just lots of details. Like Parker knows, Parker's here. He runs an agency too, right? There's a lot of Parkers out there, and I love seeing them thrive. I've made a number of posts that talk about Marco and how awesome he is. And as you probably know, that's driven him a lot of clients. And one of them that came in is this Jessica. And she said, Dennis, I signed up for Marco's service because of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, this happens to me. This has happened to me hundreds of times over the years, right? Where a lot of times it's great. It's like, oh, thank you so much for recommending so-and-so, because I know the top agencies in every category, right? And we know the figureheads in every category. But every once in a while, you get something like Jessica, where it's like, okay, the leads are out of state, or they're bad leads, or there's some kind of problem. And then they pull me in. I'm just here to help out. Try to understand what's going on. Because then they keep texting me like, hey, because now it's on me. Now, I'm collecting zero of the money, right? But I try to help as much as I can. I just want to establish a clear standard. And when we all publish, like Marco's great because we're rolling out his book for concrete coatings, and he's got his book out for painting, which is all about sharing the exact SOPs, because there's no secret, right? Because they don't want to do it themselves. That's why they hire the agency. This is just a great opportunity to make sure that we can pass an audit. And if there's things that are wrong, just fix them real quick, no problem, right? And keep things going.
Sweet.
I've not seen any reports. Normally, when there's a problem, I would expect the agency to just send a report. We like to do weekly performance reports that we call MAA, Metrics Analysis Action. That way, if there's other people involved, or if the client wants to go back and look at the results or whatever, it's very clear. I've not seen this here with you guys. Maybe it's there. Maybe you haven't shared it. But when I have no information, then we're having to play hide and go seek, which is really not a good space to be in. Right?
Gotcha. We do send out weekly reports. I don't know if that's something Jessica.
But I have nothing. So Jessica reached out to me, and I texted Marco. I'm saying like, hey, here's another one. Like, it's not personal. I've done this to Marco a lot of times where I refer in business, and then the client will say, hey, I hired Marco, but I've not heard from him in months. Right. Or I don't know what's going on or whatever. And these are classic agency issues. Like Parker knows about this too when he first got started. Right. It's just something that you learn. I would hope that instead of putting the burden on the client to try to tell us what's going on or whatever, that you would just share that, and we wouldn't need a call to be able to do that. Right. But so far as you probably know, nothing's been shared except Jessica is the one who's the one having to complain, which we don't want to set the expectation that the agency doesn't do anything unless the client complains.
For sure. All right. Well, how does this normally work then? Do you want to go onto the ad account manager?
We can audit. I've done thousands of audits, but my hope is that, are you optimizing ad accounts, or are you more like an account manager?
I optimize. I'm setting up the ads. Well, Zane typically sets it up initially, and he'll set it up on onboarding, and then he turns it over to me and Max, and we optimize.
Okay, good. We follow a process called Metrics Analysis Action. So the metrics are showing that, because Jessica played the calls when they're almost all out of state, right? The metrics are showing that it's not the right target, or we're getting the wrong leads. The analysis is what I'm hoping you can tell me. If you don't know, then we can go in and try to figure it out now. And then the action is fix whatever the mistake is, right? Fix whatever the issue is. So my hope is that this call can be over in a couple minutes, because what it is. But if you don't, let's go in and figure it out. And then we like to look at the weekly iterations updates that should show evidence of problem solving. If those iterations aren't occurring, then problems happen and then you have to wait for the client to say something, right? My hope is that someone's looking over the accounts and there's some record of someone at least just looking over it, just look that way the client's not having to inspect our stuff for us, right?
Yeah.
So then if every one of those fails, then the last line of defense is me, where it's like, now you got to pull Dennis. Now I got to try troubleshoot what's going on and ask you, play 20 questions like, hey, Tanner, what's going on? Right.
Yeah.
I don't like to do this. Right. If you're watching her accounts, like, tell me what's going on. Right.
In the beginning, we were getting okay leads. It was around like $45 cost per lead, which we'd like it to be lower, but that's not too bad for the industry, I've been told. And then she was saying that there was quite a bit of out of state leads, and we switched the form. Instead of it being like the phone number being autofill, we wanted to make the form a little bit harder to fill out. And then I put
those are actions. Did we just target the wrong geos, or what is, rather than the action, because you're jumping straight to the action? I want to go from metrics to analysis to action if we can. I want to know, why do you think we're getting those bad leads tonight? And usually maybe it could be the form, but I doubt that if the majority of calls we're getting are not in state, it's probably not the form, right? That doesn't solve the real problem.
I'm not entirely sure. I guess
why don't we look at the ad? The most obvious thing is go look at the ad account and see the geo-targeting.
Sure.
Right?
Do you want me to share my screen?
And then of the calls that are coming in, we should know where they're coming from, right? Are they from Facebook? Is it from spammers? Is it from GMB? Is it from, right? All that. Because if you don't have that, and let's say her business grows, we want to be able to show that it came from our efforts, right? Came from the calls that we drove, right?
We don't keep track of that.
Tana, if I can just jump in here, I'd say last time I was on a call with Jessica, we had to set up her pixel for her on our website. For a fact, we did not have pixel tracking before we get started here. Or if it is there, it's not visible to us.
And Marco knows about a lot of these things, because the 80-20 of this is just by running Facebook ads and not touching the website, not touching PPC, not touching SEO, not touching these other things, literally just running Facebook ads is enough to drive the leads. But then the trade-off is that you don't have the tracking, you don't have these other pieces. But the plus side of what Marco wants to do is that he's eliminated all these things that are more effort. He's done this the easiest thing to do, highest ROI, right? And that allows you to scale. But then every once in a while you get stuff like this because now you can't track it, right?
Like in my last agency, we used to keep track of the phone calls, and we had a CRM that we could even see their conversations with their leads and stuff like that. We just use high level. But it seems that we tend to just send the leads to wherever they want them to be sent and then go from there. But cost per lead was kind of a main issue for a while. But if we can just go into here, kind of show, you can kind of see there's a lot of different interests that I was trying to reset the targeting multiple times, looking at the lookalike audience. But I mean, the targeting is just a radius. 40-mile radius around. I think Zane went in here and took off. I did have an exclusion for airports.
Can you go look at the change history? And then can you look at with geo-targeting? There's 3 kinds of geo-targeting on Facebook, right? There's where they are, there's where they live, and there's like currently traveling, right? Not that I think Tucson is a heavy travel market.
No. This adds...
So you're saying that when you started, they were quality leads, but the cost per lead was just a little high. You're saying it was working. If it was working, then we can look at the change history and see, okay, what changes did we make in that period from when it went from working to not working, right?
Like, I think through July...
There's only $3,000 spent here anyway.
In July, we had a few weeks where we were 115, almost $200 leads. A few weeks where it was like, we just have absolutely nothing coming through. And so we'd go in and kind of just do creative tests. Let's try to...
Well, you've only got 5,000 impressions there. That's barely enough to get enough data to learn, right? You can't learn. If you're optimizing the leads and get one lead, the system doesn't know, right?
Sure.
Are you not using like a leads bridge or something else to pass the data back to Facebook?
No.
Because now it's been like the last year or so, but a lot of people, even some of my friends at Facebook, aren't even aware that when you drive a Facebook lead through a lead form, that data does not go back to Facebook. You have to pass it back to Facebook. I had to tell engineers at Facebook that this was the case because they assume like if it's a lead ad, it passes the data back to Facebook. Because you have to use a tool like a leads bridge or whatever to pass it back. And not only can you pass back whether it was a lead or not, you can pass back the quality of the lead, right? Like, did it become a client or the status in the CRM or what it's worth, or did it result in a quote that an estimate that they became. It's not just because otherwise, if you give Facebook no data, it's just going to assume like, well, I'm just going to do the best I can. If you pass back that there was a lead, that's a little better. But if you pass back which leads were quality leads, now you're giving them a great signal, right? So as far as I can tell, there's no signal here, which should be something you should do across all the clients. Consider that, right? Costs almost nothing to do. It's just the process that's changed.
You're saying Facebook forums. What kind of tools do you use to bridge that?
We literally have a whole course, a micro course on Leads Bridge. Leads Bridge is a tool that's designed specifically to pass back conversion CRM data back to Facebook for this very purpose.
Okay.
And we've had calls with Facebook about it. Google Leads Bridge. You'll see what we've done there. We'll give you access to the course step by step. It's easy to do. It'll literally take 10 minutes to set up. But run it by Marco and Zane, because I think they may or may not know this, right? In the last year, most people don't know. Because stuff that worked a year ago, stuff that's worked the last 5 or 6 years, often doesn't work anymore.
They're updating stuff all the time. Okay, sweet.
But let's go back to the change history and let's see what changes have happened in the last month or so.
Sure.
I think Jessica was complaining about the last couple of weeks or whatnot, but maybe go back like 2 months or something. Usually when agencies get to a certain size, you have account managers that don't know it. They just talk to the client, but they don't know how to actually get in the interface. So that's cool, where to click.
Alrighty. So I've been running ads for a while. I was doing ads for martial arts schools for 4 years. And then I just switched over to concrete for like the last three or 4 months. So
there's no targeting changes, ad status, budget. All right. What else we got?
We did add a retargeting. And I believe with the retargeting we're doing, let's do,
it's the audience there.
Video views, 3 seconds, Facebook and Instagram engaged, open forms. And then I grabbed the pixel that I saw on there for their website. And so, and then just an exclusion for the airport. That's that. Retargeting hasn't really done a whole lot. I tried kind of like an interest targeting. And with that, that's targeting different, just like concrete related home improvement interests to try to pick up there. And so kind of the complaint that I got from Jessica the last month has been just the amount of leads. She did complain, and there was a mishap where we did target the United States for a few hours, and so that did happen, and we turned that off pretty fast. But as far as like out of state, I'm very like, it seems there's been more and more clients that I've had in the last few weeks too that are saying that they have a large amount of out of state leads. But we're not targeting that, obviously. We'll have
you're saying it's not coming from the ads.
It is coming from Facebook. Well, it's coming through the Facebook form.
Okay.
And it's outside of the range that we're targeting. And I had one client that was like eight out of 10 clients. They say that they were out of town. Now, I've also, I do tell them, because sometimes the zip code that gets auto-filled in the form could be wrong. However, my clients are saying that they're calling. They've confirmed with a few of them that they are actually out of state.
But are they actually interested in decorative concrete, or they want a concrete floor? It's just it's the right lead, but just out of state.
It's just out of state, which I don't know how they could be targeted when we're not targeting 200 miles away from Arizona. Now, and that's where I started kind of excluding the airports, because I'm like, well, we can't target people who are living in anymore since that update like a year ago, right? And so, and doing the geofencing where I'm excluding the radius around, that doesn't even help. That doesn't work because they're 200 miles away. So I'm honestly like, I'm at a loss. I'm on a few like Reddit threads for Facebook marketing, and they're claiming that it's like bots. There's a lot of bots that are putting in leads. I don't know.
Yeah, these are real humans though, not the bots. I think there's two approaches. One is targeting, which is the most obvious thing to look at, positive and negative targeting. But the second thing is if you pass back the right signal, especially if it's occurring across multiple clients, which we do see, but we see a lot of bots and form fills that are from garbage and whatever. But if they're coming from Facebook ads, then and it's on us, right? Meanwhile, Facebook's like, oh, people are filling out the form. We're succeeding because they don't know that those leads are not good, right?
They just see the number of leads. No, that makes sense.
Same is true on Google too. You guys don't do Google, but it's the exact same issue we see there.
So in theory, like I'm sure that the retargeting is probably higher quality leads. Zane says he doesn't like to put a whole bunch of money into the retargeting campaigns. He does like $10, $20 a day.
You can't spend, there's a limit because the retargeting audience by definition is small. So you could try to spend 100, you can't.
So I guess looking at your lead bridge stuff would be good.
Let me link you to the course. Here is our Academy. It's ironic and hypocritical. We can't find our own stuff by searching for it. It should show up right at the top. We didn't see. Oh, there it is. Okay, this one. Let me just put it in the chat here. You guys can take a look at that. And this might solve on a higher level than just trying to troubleshoot Jessica's campaigns. So take a look at that. There's many ways, depending on what the CRM is. There's a lot of CRMs are now using the conversion API from Google and Facebook to pass back lead status. All right, let's take a look at that. See if you can find other things in the change history and then just get back to us. Because I'm a big fan of the analysis as part of metrics, analysis, action. A lot of people go straight to action without doing analysis, just kind of shooting with the blindfold in the dark kind of thing. But if we can figure out where these leads are coming from, I thought you guys were using the drip jobs, no, for all clients?
We recommend it.
Okay.
It's not something that we force them. I have some clients that don't have a CRM and we just send the leads to their email and
you just trust that it's good. Hopefully if they're happy, no one says anything or wants to see reports or whatever on quality.
Well, they would keep track of the report for quality. We don't even know once the lead gets sent to them, we don't see anything. So,
but you did when you did care about that when you were at the martial arts place before you were doing the martial arts agency thing.
We just had everybody go into high level, and there were a few clients like they didn't want to use it because they have their own CRM. But for the most part, we were able to track what's our lead to trial conversion and then what's our trial to membership conversion. We'll set up the lookalike audience with their members. We haven't done it seems like Zane doesn't like lookalike audiences.
You don't need lookalike audiences anymore. You're not doing e-commerce. Lookalikes are already built in when you choose your objective.
Gotcha. So
we're teaching our weekly mastermind in 2 minutes.
Okay, sounds good.
But I think what to do, right? Get us access to some of these weekly reports, even if it is just things that are not based on calls. Let's look at Jessica's CRM and see if we can trace things back. Take another look at if there's any sort of targeting. Sometimes there'll be like one campaign that just somehow, whatever, is not targeted right, that's causing all the problems. And then look at LeadsBridge or other tools to see if we can pass back a stronger signal. So get back to us on that in the next few days. And that way, when Jessica pings us, we'll say like, our buddies are on it. It's all good. They're going to get back to us, right? That way, you don't want to have like me or Parker in a few days saying like, hey, Tanner, it's been a week. Like, what happened? Is there a fault? Like, I don't like to chase people, right? Sweet. And then this thing's recorded in Zoom. We'll just send this to you guys. I'll send it to Marco. He's nursing his stub toe. He can look at this.
Awesome. Sounds
cool,
good.
Tanner. Appreciate you. Thanks, Parker.
Good meeting you guys.
Right. See you guys.